Hello, in this session we're going to look at a very important part of writing your book, which is editing. Now, I've been a professional editor for many years, and I want to go through with you editing step by step, and you'll see how logical the whole thing is. My suggestion is that most of the work goes into the preparation. We've gone through the preparation before you write your book, because the more you prepare, the less you have to edit. And I think that's the case with everything. The more you prepare your lunch, the less you'll have to muck around with it afterwards. So what we do is, after you've finished your first draft, and you've got that wonderful first draft, what a great feeling that is, take some time off. Maybe a week, depends how much you want to take off, but you need to distance yourself from the actual writing. You want to let that internal critic have a bit of a rest, because you're going to bring it into play very soon. The first thing to do after that break is to print out, and I severely suggest that you print out your work and take it somewhere without a pencil, without anything, and just simply reread it. Sit, maybe on your balcony, on the beach, in a cafe, rereading your book. No notes, no nothing. This is for you to find out how the book reads. After that, you do pick up a pencil or a pen or whatever, and you annotate as you go through with your second read. So you make notes to yourself. I don't like the sound of this. I think I could put this in a different order. This needs to be looked at. There seems to be some information missing here. Whatever notes you need, you put down on that particular piece of paper. And then you go back and you revise your book chapter by chapter based on your notes. At the end of that revision, you have what everybody calls a second draft. That is a book revised to your notes. This is when you get feedback. You send it to other people. Now you can tell those people, don't worry about the punctuation, don't worry about the spelling, the proofreading. I'm going to do that later. What I need from you is I need to know how my book reads. Now a lot of people at this stage give it to their spouse, give it to their mum and dad, and mum and dad turn around and say, oh, my little darling's written a book. It's awesome. It's the best book I've ever read. And that's not the sort of feedback that you really need. You need feedback from two types of people. Experts in your area who are going to tell you whether or not you've got something wrong, or whether or not you've got information missing, or your target market. So if it's this infant nutrition book, you give it to mums to read and say, have a read of this. After you've read it, do you think it's too complicated? Do you think there's anything else that you'd like to know? And so on. That sort of feedback is gold, because that sort of feedback you can easily incorporate, and this is the stage to incorporate it. Don't be offended if people criticize you. Don't turn around and say, as some of my students have done in the past, oh, they just don't understand. Well, you know what? If they don't understand, maybe you should rewrite it so they do understand. So that's the feedback stage, and you incorporate that feedback into your manuscript, and that's the third stage. After that feedback is incorporated, you've got your third draft. Now is the time to use an editor. An editor is a great resource. You use an editor who doesn't necessarily know anything about your book, anything about you, anything about your topic. They go through the book and they say, this is using too much jargon. People will not understand this. This should perhaps be in a different order. It would flow better in a different order. At this point, I'm asking myself this question and I'm not getting a proper answer. And that answer never comes. So an editor can give you those sort of indications, and they are really, really helpful. If you're writing a novel, that at this stage you send it to what we call beta readers, who might say to you, you know, your character lacks motivation at this stage and I need to put more motivation in, and so on. So using an editor is a very, very useful thing to do. Yes, you will pay to use an editor, but if you don't use an editor, you'll pay in a different way later on. And when the editor comes back with their feedback, obviously you don't have to take everything that they say. You don't have to incorporate everything that you've had as feedback from everybody else as well. But at this stage, you think to yourself, I will now incorporate that feedback and I will have what is now a fourth draft. But because we did so much preparation, we are now ready to move on to the next stage, which is polishing. And all of these steps through editing, if you've taken them the right way, will lead to a manuscript which is now ready for the next stage, which we will be talking about in the next session.